So let's talk about sport, let's talk about hockey, and let's talk about the Maple Leaf. Yes, that's the hockey team of Toronto. They were in the playoffs and they lost again. And I thought it was very interesting to see people's reaction, but also what is the parallel you can make between hockey, the playoff, the Maple Leaf defeat, and the corporate world. So I think it's really about what are these lessons we can get in terms of failure, terms of grace, but also in terms of double standard. So thank you so much for listening or watching. My name is Peggy van der Plas. You can find more about me on my website. And today I want to talk about sports, even if I don't follow sports, but living in Toronto, it's pretty much impossible. It was impossible to escape the fact that the Maple Leafs were in the playoff. And I would say the story for me unfolded in fragments. Thanks to friends' conversation, I was kept abreast of the score. And it really gave me a very interesting window, not just on hockey, but really again on power, on politics, and on performance. So the first conversation I had was, a friend who was very excited, and she's the one who told me that the Leafs were up 2-0 and they were playing Miami. I don't know which team is Miami, but she quickly added after the fact that we were winning 2-0 that I should not get too excited because they have not won in decades. And she was absolutely right, because they had absolutely not won in 57 years to be exact. Yes, 57 years. So that was my first brush with understanding what was happening in Toronto and in the playoff. So the second update came when it was 2-2. Another friend made a very interesting conversation that a very interesting comment in the conversation that the players get paid per game. So the fact that they all want to go to 7 games makes sense. So yes, actually, I checked after she told me that. The players receive compensation for each playoff appearance. So you'd rather be at 4-3 or 3-4, preferably 4-3, that means you win, versus 4-0. And obviously, beyond the player compensation, you have the sponsors, you have the TV rights, you have the venues, like everyone is making more money when there are more games. And I thought it was a very bold comment from my friend, because every time in the past I've dared to suggest that there was, conflict of interest or light corruption in sports, have usually been met with indignation from the people I was conveying that image. And people are always convinced that it might happen, but not in my sport, which I always find very cute and very funny. So I was very pleased, I would say, when my friend made that comment that everyone wants to play more games because everyone gets more money that way. And I'm sure the viewers are very happy to see more games as well. So everyone's happy. Then the next update I got was at 3-3. Again, a tie, 6 games out of the 7. If you're not following, okay, playoffs, you play 7 games, and obviously the team that wins 4 games out of the 7, the first one to get to 4 wins. So at 3-3, I got another update, and that time it was about players. The person was complaining about the fact that players were choking under pressure. And that's really, I think, the fact that, okay, Toronto was winning 2-0, now we're 3-3. Some players are not showing up, some are rising, but others collapse. And, that's the playoffs. And people were unpleased with that state of affair. How can you be at 3-3 when you were winning 2-0? Interesting as well. And finally, I obviously had the update on the last game that the Toronto lost 1-6. So not only they lost the playoff, but they lost the last game very poorly. And the fans were not happy. Some of them threw their jerseys onto the ice in protest. So anyway, let's put it that way. It was not pretty. So that was another friend who shared me that information. So that's how I was aware of all of that. So I told my husband, he's not a Leaf fan, but he was a former hockey player himself, and he got very annoyed. I assumed he would get annoyed, but it's like, wow, it's always the same thing. People comment, they can't even play themselves, and he was referring to the fact that when he was a hockey player, how many couch critics is heard the screaming strategy when they can't themselves even skate 5 feet, So I would say fair. His empathy was with the player. Until I asked him, how many times do you think you could choke and fail at your job before getting fired? And that questions made him pause, because here's the thing. If you are a mid-tier hockey player and you choke in a high-stake game, unlikely you're going to get re-signed. But if you are a top league player and you fail to perform, well, you will likely be back next year and the year after, because you're already too big to be cut loose. And that's what really fascinates me. And that's also why I see the parallel with the corporate world. It's really this idea of double standard that when it reveals, it's really this idea of too big to fail mentality, but applied to individuals. So what I've seen, and what I'm sure you've seen as well in the corporate world, is that if a CEO tanks a strategy, they don't get fired. They eventually, and when I say eventually, like after years, resign to spend more time with their family or retire to spend more time with their family. But there will never be any mention of them failing the strategy, and there is actually no connection between them leaving and their failure. But if you're an executive a couple levels down, or even 3-4 levels down, actually, because usually it's a layer cake, if you miss your numbers, well, that will be bye-bye pretty soon. Thank you for playing and good luck to find your next job, And so why is that? Why is it that a CEO is getting more grace than an exec or someone even lower in the food chain? But it's very simple. It's because once you're at the top, failures becomes too embarrassing and too expensive to address. Too many people vouched for you, too many reputations are invested in your successes, so the board doubles down, the coach stands behind his players, narratives of resilience are spun, we all know, pretending that this major screw up was actually a great learning opportunity, will be stronger because of it, this was necessary for evolution. I mean, you've heard the script. And it's funny to see how fast everyone aligns in these circumstances. And so recently I was chatting with a lovely guy who was a managing director at a PE firm. To get the job, he went through 13 interviews, 1 free, and a full case study. He's not a young chicken. Huh? He has already a very long resume that technically is also talking for himself. And he was recommended by someone within the company. Still 13 interviews and a full case studies. So I'm wondering, how many interviews do you think his boss had? How many interviews do you think the CEO had to go through? I bet it's not 13. So why is it again that someone 1, 3, 4 level below is under more scrutiny? And again, it is not absolutely not a rant about how high earners shouldn't be allowed to be human. Absolutely not. That's not what I believe. People are people, whether you're CEO, whether you're not. You're allowed to have emotions, you're allowed to have failures, at the top or the bottom of the food chain. But my question is, why do we have more compassion and leniency upward than downward? And shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't it be worse to screw up at the top than to screw up at the bottom? Shouldn't we have more interviews, more scrutiny for someone at the top but someone at the bottom? And why do we normalize this? Why do we think it's normal to see a CEO getting unscattered despite repeated failure under his watch? So and we've seen similar dynamics in other sports. So I'm a tennis player. It's not that I'm following a lot, but that would be the sport, I guess, I'm watching. And there has been a lot of noise in the last 12 months, I would say, around very harsh sanctions that were given to low-ranked players, while top star, like the world number one, Jannik Sinner, received far more lenient treatment for exactly the same infraction. So, at the middle player, 100, 200, you're going to get a 2-year suspension. You can't play, you can't work, you can't make money, your career basically is finished. Your sinner, oh, well, we'll pretend, oh, yeah, well, we probably misunderstood. That's fine. You can continue playing. And again, that's the same idea. The higher you go, the more grace you seem to be granted. And again, why? It doesn't make any sense. The rule should be the same for everyone, at least if we don't want to be more harsh with the top of the food chain, it should be at least as harsh for everyone. So the next time you're hiring an intern, for example, ask yourself, who pays the more scrutiny? Is it your intern? Is it you? Is it your CEO? And maybe you can lay it a bit lighter on your intern when you're selecting them. So and last question: what does it say about the system that again we are more lenient with the top of the food chain than the bottom? So that's food for thought. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Again, my name is Peggy van der Plage. And you can learn more about me on my website, peggyvanderplage.com. Have a wonderful day. Take care.